I'm Greg Jarrett, and you were in the strategy room. Well, a battle might be brewing between Senate and House Republicans over an idea to boost defense funding by using a contingency fund for war spending. Now, the House sees this as a way to get around strict spending measures, but some Republicans in the U.S. Senate say, hey, it's just a gimmick. Joining us now to talk about it, political strategist Brad Blakeman and Penny Lee. Good to see you both.
See you.
Penny, let me start with you because you're on the other side of the aisle. Republicans don't seem to be getting along. What do you make of it?
Well, I applaud the Senate Republicans for coming out and for calling it what it is, which is a budgetary gimmick. If you remember, Clinton put into rules that was called pay-as-you-go. It was the same kind of thing, making sure that you didn't overpay and create further deficits. When the Republicans took over in the Senate with George W. Bush, again, to fund the wars, to fund Iraq and Afghanistan, they blew open those budgetary rules to be able to pay for the wars. It was a gimmick then, and it is a gimmick now, especially when it goes towards defense spending. So I applaud the Republicans for those that are standing up and saying, wait a second, we actually need to have this done in a responsible way, in a way in which adheres to the cuts in which we've already agreed to.
Brad, this appears to be a war between the defense hawks and the budget hawks. How's this going to shake out?
Well, I think there's got to be some give and take for sure, or surrender. I think the Senate is wise. Certainly McCain and Flake and others who have said this is absolutely a gimmick, and we're not going to go for it. We're spending money we don't have. There is no contingency fund. It's not like a rainy day fund where I have $10,000 in cash in my pocket and I'm flush and I don't have the kind of debt responsibilities that we have. But we do. We're $18 trillion in debt, and we can't manufacture money that doesn't exist in accounts that are accountable and necessary for the purposes they're intended. So I believe that the House is probably going to have to surrender on this because they're not going to get past the Senate, and we shouldn't be spending money we don't have, and we have to spend it responsibly, the money that we are at least budgeting to the Defense Department.
Penny, tell us where you think Democrats might be in this battle and what likely role they will play in resolving it.
Well, the Democrats will always have a role, especially in the Senate, given the numbers. Nobody has an outright 60-vote margin, so Democrats will always play a role. And there are many, I would say, in the 9 to 10 range of Democratic senators that on any given issue will side with Republicans, and there's a lot of Democrats that are more hawkish than some of their counterparts in the House, and so it will be coming down to where are their priorities. Remember that we spend on defense more than the next 17 nations combined. So it's not that we don't have a very robust defense budget. It is in the priorities. Do we still need to be funding weapon systems that are obsolete? Planes that no longer fly, that no longer are meeting the missions for the theaters in which we are entering into. So those are the types of questions that I think folks in the Senate really want questioned and want answers. They agree, many of them, a majority agree that defense spending is a priority, but how? How is it done responsibly?
Brad, seems to be a lot of disagreements these days between Mitch McConnell and Speaker Boehner. The last of which was the DH funding that came perilously close to shutting down the government. And one of the things we learned there is these guys don't talk to each other. The leaders of each house of the same party. What gives?
Well, what gives is there's dysfunctionality that should have been buried the hatchet when the American people gave you the entire Congress. You've been given a responsibility by the American people to run the Congress. And after the fact, when you're given this great responsibility and you have these great majorities, you screw it up. And the fact of the matter is there should be not harmony, lockstep between the House and the Senate, but there should be at least a game plan of getting things accomplished together and not having these unnecessary confrontations.
But it seems so obvious, Brad. And look, these guys are no dummies, McConnell and Boehner, and yet they don't seem to be grasping the obvious here. I wonder why.
Well, because they're letting the inmates run the asylum. And the fact of the matter is, if you're going to be a leader, you have to control those who you're supposed to be leading.
Right.
And if there isn't hell to pay for not coalescing and agreeing, then certainly nothing's going to get done, even with a Republican majority. There has to be some give and take, but there's got to be an agenda between the House and the Senate,
right,
where there doesn't seem to be.
Brad Blakeman, Penny Lee, good to see you both. Thanks so much.
Great.
Thanks, Greg.
And check out FoxNews.com for more on this big budget battle. I'm Greg Jarrett. Thanks for watching.